So in the previous video, we went over how to import your bank data. And after you're done importing your bank data, you'll notice that the screen will pop up for the classification of spend and income. The other way we can pull that up is just by going to the main page. And then if we click here, you'll see a pop-up just like this. And we'll have a few selection options on here. So you could view your budget summary, upload bank spend, classification of spend and income is what we'll want. So we'll click that, we'll click execute, and then that's going to bring up this over here. So what this is the master naming and categorization. So if you notice, for example, we have Albertsons, we have a number of different entries on there. Now, in order to go through and make this as efficient as possible, so when I designed this tool, it was to make things a lot easier. So going forward, if we go through and we categorize, for example, Albertsons, then when there's future transactions, we won't have to worry about going back through and reclassifying it. So the first thing you'll notice up here is we have the search description. So you can search, so we can type in Albertsons. We could also, if you type in just the first few letters, it'll find anything that has the CH in there. And so the next thing is the pending review, and that just means there's items in here that you haven't reviewed yet. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. So over here we have the dashboard. So you can see there's a total of 60 different descriptions that we have. 0% of them have been reviewed. And then as far as the category default, what that is over here you have the option of always defaulting to this category. So if you unselect this, you'll see a message pop up that'll say, by unchecking this, you'll have to manually categorize each transaction. And so that'll be done at the individual entries. And I'm going to recommend that you go through and you always select the defaults. Again, the reason why is it'll automatically categorize it over here where we have all the individual transactions. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to show you. Now for these, let's say I want to go ahead and select these. Now you'll notice this is grayed out, so we'll need to check this first. So we'll want it to always default to this category, and then it's going to allow us to select a category. So we'll go ahead and select food and household, and then we'll put it under groceries. And then this preferred description name, you can leave it blank, or you can go ahead and type in the name that you'd like. So here I used Albertsons. I don't want the hashtag and then a number after it. I just want it to show as Albertsons. So I'll go ahead and click save. And so you'll notice we've reviewed 8%. Our category default is at 8% also. So I'm going to go ahead and update a few of these. So you can select with the category. Since I'm going to be using this preferred description name again, I'm going to go ahead and just change this to transportation and then gas and then click save. And then you can go ahead and clear that, and you'll want to go ahead and categorize these. So the nice thing is if you do double click, it'll actually show you all the individual entries that you have. So it'll help you try to identify what the actual spend was. Because with some of the description names, you may not know exactly what it was, but if you see an amount, you may remember what it is. So we'll go ahead and go back here. So I'm going to select, this was under entertainment, add subscriptions. And you can continue to go through and update these. So for this one, I'm going to select food and household restaurant, Alice Jr. So I'll go ahead and hit save there. If you only want to see the ones that are currently pending review, you could go ahead and click this, and it'll actually remove all the ones you've already categorized. So if I go over here and for, say, Chevron, I select transportation, gas, and I'm going to clear that one. Just type in Chevron, save. Okay, and then that's updated, so it's disappeared. Like I said, as you're going through, the nice thing about this is you'll be able to see your progress. Being able to select multiple makes it a lot easier and quicker to categorize. And usually what I do to kind of speed this up is I'll stick with, so for example, restaurants. I'll go through and try to categorize all the restaurants in here first. And so for some of these categories, you may not be too familiar with it. And again, you can always go through and search. If you go back to the budget scenario, you can see what the subcategories are, or you can just, again, click through here and try to find them. Okay, so I've gotten a good portion of these down. So I've just got a few left that I need to categorize. Okay, and so I have just a few left. You can see I have 90% reviewed, 90% in a category default. Now let's say for Walmart, I want to actually go through and look at each individual entry and categorize it on my own. Then what I would do is just click that, and then you could still enter a name for it. And you'll see that 90% in the default category and 94% have been reviewed. So it's almost done. Okay, and so we do have all of them reviewed now. So that's 100%. So if we go over here and uncheck this, we'll be able to see all of the categorization. And we'll want to make sure that we first get this to 100% before moving on to the individual entries tab. So after this is complete, then we'll go over here. Now in this one, you'll see that you can search by the description or the preferred description. And again, that preferred description could be the Albertsons or whatever name we want to give this. So you can type it in there. And then over here, we have the same type of dashboard. So this is going to have all of the transactions. And then this is going to be pending categorization. So if you remember with Walmart, we said that we don't want it to default to a category. So there's 13 transactions that fall under that description. And then over here, we have 92% of all transaction categorized. So if we go over here, we have the to-do. Now you can see it's pulled all the Walmart ones in. So I know these ones need to be updated. Now you can go through and update these individually at the category. There is a quicker way though. If you click on the transactions that require manual categorization, we can actually go through and, for example, if I wanted to select these ones right here and I wanted to put those under, we'll say, household items, then I could go ahead and click update. Okay, so now if we look at it, we can see that the pending categorization is 0 and we're 100% categorized. So if you're wanting to add extra entries, you can do so down here. You'll want to click the show all items and then come down here and click the create a new item. And so for this one, you'll go ahead and just enter a date. I'll enter July for $20. And I'll say this is for a personal haircut, personal hygiene. So I got a haircut. Go ahead and do that. And so I can go ahead and create that item. And so that one was successfully created. If I wanted to go back through and create another one, I could go ahead and do so. So let's say I wanted to create it for the 15th of every month. And so you can add additional entries in here. And so if we go down here, you can see the entries. You'll notice that with the description, it's always going to have this asterisk next to anything that you've added manually. So if it's not from the master categorization, it's going to have an asterisk next to it, just letting you know that it was added manually. This is great for anything that you've paid cash for. Another thing is you'll want to make sure that you've addressed all your savings. So you don't want to forget about that. So I could go ahead and say 500 and go under savings and then retirement accounts, Fidelity 401k. And then if I come down here, I can see that that was added. So then next we can go over to the income sources. And you'll notice over here that these will automatically be generated. So whenever you enter or import spend data, let's say it's December 1st and you imported some spend data for December 1st, it's going to automatically generate these. And this is actually coming from, if we go over and we look at the budget scenario, whatever you entered here for your monthly income, that's what's going to auto-generate. So if you don't want it to auto-generate, you'll have to just enter a 0 here, and then you can enter it manually. So we'll go ahead, jump back to green. So if we look at this right here, we can see the different paychecks. Now these ones cannot be duplicated. So you can't duplicate or edit these ones, but you can go over here and you can add additional income. So for example, if we had a bonus, let's go ahead and say on, and then you could go ahead and enter the amount. Frequency, we're just going to say a one-time. We're going to select not reoccurring, and then we're going to click the add income entry. You can see it populates right there. And if I wanted to, for example, let's say on the 15th of every month, I have, let's say, rental income of 500. I could go ahead and click add. And then to duplicate this, I would just double click and it'll transfer everything back. And then I could go ahead and add it for the following months. Say I just had someone living with me for those 3 months. So I have the 3 months of rental income. So once you've completed this, then you could go ahead and close out on this. And then we'll go to the budget dashboard. So next video, we'll cover how to use the budget dashboard.